Hi Pisces, welcome to your March 2018 Astro Update. It's Raina here. So Pisces, this is actually another video for this particular topic for your sign. I did upload one, I believe it was yesterday, and I had to take it down today because I did not add at least one of the transits, and it was very important. It was a blue moon at the end of the month. So in the spirit of wanting to be as thorough as possible, I decided to do it over again. And it's interesting that I talk about this blue moon, that I left it out, because a blue moon is the second full moon in a month. And we had this happen in January as well. So on the first of the month is the first of those two full moons, and this one is at 11 degrees of Virgo. Virgo is your opposite sign. So it's going to be in the 7th house of committed partnership. Now, full moon periods can be times when you come to some awareness. You're kind of enlightened about something. This would be about your relationship. You may realize, one thing I wanted to kind of remind you or let you know if you didn't know, is that anytime there's a full moon, it means that the sun is in the opposite sign. So at the time that this full moon is at 11 Virgo, the sun will be at 11 Pisces. So especially if your sun sign is around that, or your rising sign is around that degree, this may be particularly enlightening for you and can involve your relationship. And you may be looking at it in terms of, you know, are my needs getting met in this relationship? Or it might be the opposite. It might be that perhaps you have been neglecting your partner and you haven't been really appreciating them and being self-centered. Now, that doesn't strike me as something the average Pisces person would do, but, you know, everyone is human, and you might not have done it maliciously, but sometimes people get wrapped up in their own issues. So regardless, there might be some kind of an aha moment, and that could actually save a relationship, because for some people, if the relationship is already on shaky ground, a full moon can bring out another secret that puts the nail in the coffin, and then you're out of there, and the relationship's over with. And the full moons are times when there's a lot of emotion going on. So this could be regarding your relationship, but emotions are not necessarily negative. So it could be a positive emotion. It all depends on your particular situation. On the 6th of the month, both Mercury and Venus go from your sign, Pisces, to Aries, and that is your 2nd house of earned income. This is actually wonderful news because Venus rules the 2nd house, and Venus can indicate an increase in money in some way. Mercury adds mental power, so you may be able to come up with money-making ideas. And whatever is happening, you will have that sense of attraction, which Venus brings to the house of earned income. Think about the law of attraction. The law of attraction is about something intangible. You know, the old paradigm is when we look at the 2nd house, which these two planets are going into, it's the money that you earn by the sweat of your brow. Now, I don't know about you, but that doesn't really sound appealing to me, this idea of slaving to make a buck, okay? And the reason is because I think that when you love what you do, I mean, if you love doing physical work, then that's not what I'm talking about. But people who have their own ideas of how they want to earn money, sometimes they kind of push those thoughts away because they think they cannot come true. With Mercury aligned with Venus here, going in on the same day, you can really feel that sense of, I have the mental power to attract what I want in this, in this case, it's money. And Pisces is a very intuitive sign. But the irony is that a lot of times, in my experience, in private readings, I seem to deal with a lot of people with intuitive gifts, but they, for some reason or another, it's turning against them. And a lot of times it's because there's like always going to be a shadow side of everything, and with having a heightened intuition, this means that you're very sensitive, and that sensitivity it can work against you if you become too subjective, if you start to see life too much through your own eyes, and you can't distance yourself from it and see things from a bigger picture. So a lot of times people who are very sensitive, and actually the word, there's another word for psychic, which is called asensitive. I mean, it's a noun. And that's because, people are very sensitive who are psychics. People who are psychic and sensitive have to learn to detach. And you can do this, in obvious ways through meditation, but also self-inquiry, which just involves asking yourself questions. Is this true? Can I really prove this to be true about myself or about somebody else, and not taking things personally, which is in the Four Agreements book. That's one of the Four Agreements, not taking anything personally. And these kinds of tools can help people to learn how to use their intuition in a good way, but not have it turn on themselves where they take offense too easily and they're too easily demoralized, discouraged by life, and, not having too much self-pity and things like that, because you really, especially at this time, Pisces, could come up with some intuitive ideas that could help you to earn more money and attract it. So it means that it's not something that you have to slave away and it's painful. It can flow more easily into your life. And, so then, let's see what else is happening. Mars on St. Patrick's Day, March 17th, is going into Capricorn. That is your 11th house of hopes and wishes. I love that house, the luckiest house. Now, that means that for half the month, it's going to be in your 10th house in the sign of Sagittarius. And you've had Saturn there for a few years. So, hopefully, some of you at least may have gotten some groundwork going on where you have organized your life so that your career is kind of like in place, and now you just have to do a little bit of heavy lifting, and that's what Mars is all about. It's about doubling down your efforts for some reason. It might just be, this is going to be temporary because it's just a transit. So maybe it's a project or what have you. But I do want to let you know that in the month of, I'm trying to see because I just started this over again. So I want to make sure that I get this right. Well, actually, it'll be your 11th house that is affected. In the month of June, in late June, Mars is going to go retrograde. And it's going to start actually in your 12th house, and it's going to go back into your 11th house. And it's going to stay in these two houses for most of the year, which is very unusual. It's not unusual during a Mars retrograde, but there are only Mars retrogrades every 2 years. So it's something that happens every day. The other thing too is there's a Mercury retrograde that is happening in March. And I'll talk about that in a second when I get closer to that time. But I just wanted to touch upon Mars in that 11th house because after it leaves your career sector, it goes into this 11th house, and you're going to be driven, Pisces, into something that relates to some of your dreams that you have, and it may have nothing to do with your career. So I just want to make that clear. But something happens at the time of that Mars retrograde, which is going on for 2 months from late June to late August. That's the time it's going to be retrograde, and it's going to go from 12th house to your 11th house. And you rule the 12th house. So it could be something karmic, a goal. Maybe you had some kind of a goal that you really, this dream that you would like to accomplish. And then something comes up in your life at some point, maybe in the summer. In June, the Northern Hemisphere summer. And you really are feeling like maybe you're not meant to have this dream, and you're kind of like soul searching, but you go back to that dream come, late summer. On the same day that Mars goes into your 11th house, you have a new moon in your sign. I guess I didn't say this, but happy solar return to those of you Pisces peeps who are March babies. And this is your new moon, all of your new moon. All of you Pisces' new moon. And it's a 26 Pisces. And so that's very interesting because that's on the same day that Mars goes into your 11th house. And so you're, set your intentions for the next solar cycle, for this next year. What do you want for next birthday cycle? Do you want, is there things you want? You have Mars in the 11th house, so there's probably something that you're really passionate about, that you're trying to go after, but you probably have other things too that you could be setting as goals for the upcoming year. Venus goes into Taurus on the 31st, and this is your third house of communication and also siblings and I believe cousins. So you may meet a romantic partner through family members like your brothers or sisters or cousins. It can also be meeting somebody in your local area. So you just happen to be out and about. Maybe you go to the library and you strike up a conversation with somebody and you're off to the races. Venus in the third house can mean that you are doing something artistic that involves writing, communicating. So maybe you're starting a novel or an ebook, something along those lines. And on that same day is that blue moon that I was talking about. And this is going to be at 10 degrees of Libra, and this is going to fall in your 8th house. The 8th house is the house of other people's resources. So as I said, and I should have said too, okay, see, now I skipped the Mercury retrograde and I skipped the sun going into Aries. And that happens on the 20th. Okay, so the sun goes into Aries on the 20th in that second house. And so you have even more energy in your income sector. The sun can give you like a more practical mindset, or, your whole being becomes infused with that. But also that can help you to make some decisions if you need to, because actually there's going to be something with money that comes about when that Mercury retrograde hits. And that hits 2 days after the sun goes in there on the 22nd. So you have the Mercury retrograde in the income sector. It may create, for some people, there may be some kind of a slowdown when it comes to money. But remember that a Mercury retrograde is just a few weeks long. It's about 3.5 weeks. So it's not anything to worry about. It's not a long-term thing, but you may be thinking about something related to your income. And because Venus is there as well, there may be like you trying to decide whether or not you're deserving. Maybe you think you deserve more money than you're getting. And the sun gives you that sense of self-esteem. So those kinds of issues may come to the fore. But this blue moon is happening in the opposite house on the 31st. And this is the house of also sex and death. And, some people, freak out and go, oh my God, somebody's going to die when my moon is in the full moon in the 8th house. Actually, that happened to me, but not at that moment. It was, I found out about somebody close to me and who eventually did pass away. But here's the thing about it. In that case, it was really falling on top of my sun, as I recall. So if you have planets in this sector, and of course, you also have to, there was a lot that would have to happen because, it also depends on your sun, degree of sun arising, whether or not it will even be in the 8th house. But they say if you have planets in a particular house, it's more, and it forms a conjunction, some of these full moons and new moons, there'll be more of a likelihood of that happening. Chances are, this could involve a secret because the 8th house does deal with secrets, and this is a full moon energy. And it may be of a sexual nature because the 8th house also can deal with sex. So if, again, with you have 2 full moons, Pisces, and one is in your marriage sector, your relationship sector, and the next one is in the intimacy sector. So you could be having a very enlightened understanding of exactly what some of the problems have been in your relationship, if so, or maybe deepening your relationship with a person. Maybe it goes that way. So anyway, I hope that you've enjoyed this. And if you'd like me to look at your chart or other type of reading, please click on the link below for a private reading. Otherwise, have a great March. Bye.